The cutest kitty ever. Alright, you gonna help me do this video? That's how we're doing it, y'all. Hey everybody, welcome back. And today I've got a new type of video for you. I've never done a video like this before, but it's all about palette pairings. I think sometimes when with certain palettes, we can tend to get stuck and not quite know how to use them or feel like something's missing. Maybe you don't have a brow bone shade. Maybe you don't have a good transition shade. Maybe you don't have that deep defining shade that you need. Maybe you're missing some shimmers. And I think sometimes we get stuck with the idea that we have to, work within a palette instead of just bringing in whatever the crap you want to bring in when you're doing a look. So I thought, hey, I'll just share some of the palette pairings that I've really been enjoying lately, where with some of these palettes, maybe I enjoyed them on their own and I do enjoy them individually, but when I bring them together, they just are awesome. It's like our powers combine and we create the most awesome just look. So that being said, let's jump into it. So the first two palettes I want to talk about are actually what I'm wearing on my eyes today. I did film a tutorial for this look, and that is the Volcano Goddess from Becca Cosmetics and the Pretty Cool palette from Dose of Colors. Now, this kind of video was inspired by these palettes, and I didn't realize that I pair certain palettes until I got into this palette right here. So this is the Volcano Goddess, which is a beautiful palette. I did snag it when it was on sale for $28. So I'm sure like most people, the shadows in this palette that caught my eye were kind of these shimmers and this shimmer right here. And while if you work with them, they can be really beautiful, they are a pain in the butt to work with. They are just some of the most difficult, chunky, shimmery, glittery shades I have in a palette. So I have kind of brought this into my routine as an everyday neutral palette because I love these mattes. These mattes are really beautiful, and I think where the true beauty lies in this palette is in these three mattes and then these shimmers right here. They're absolutely gorgeous. Just to give you a little sampling, these really are gorgeous and they perform gorgeously on the eyes. So that being said, I feel like with these shimmers and these mattes, there's not enough depth in the mattes for what I like to put in my crease to really create a whole look with this palette. I do feel like I can create a really soft, very neutral everyday look with like these three mattes and maybe either this shimmer or this shimmer on the lid. But if I want to use these deeper shimmers, I feel like I need to bring in something darker. And that's where the Pretty Cool palette comes in. This palette I also love. I love these cool tones. I love Dose of Color eyeshadows, and I feel like you get a really nice gradient in here. But for me, this is not a standalone palette because this does not have something that is light enough for a brow bone shade or an inner corner highlight, that kind of thing. Now, if you are medium to deep skin tone, I think this would be an amazing all-inclusive everyday cool tone palette for you because it has everything you need in here. It has a beautiful gradient without getting too dark, because day to day, I don't want to have like black on my eye, but I do feel like these shades down here, Smoke Show and Fine Print, do a beautiful job, ooh, sorry, itchy, of deepening up a look, which is what I have on my outer corner in my crease today. So when I was looking for something to go along with the mattes in that Volcano Goddess palette, this really kind of stood out, and this is what I've been using in conjunction with the Volcano Goddess palette just because the mattes work so well together. So these two palettes have definitely been my go-to pairing if I'm looking for a just easy smoky look. I can do a matte look with them, I can do a shimmer look, I've done both. So just if you have this palette and don't know where to go with it, maybe bring in something like something that has some of these deeper cool tones, and I think you're gonna find just a lot of enjoyment in this palette, just staying away from those chunky glittery shades and really focusing on these more muted shimmery shades and the mattes. Such a great palette. I really feel like these palettes just bring out the best in each other because neither one is a standalone palette for me. So the two palettes I'm talking about next are the Urban Decay Electric palette and the Tarte Make Believe in Yourself palette. Now, I love both of these palettes individually, but I always have to bring something else in because neither of these, again, are standalone palettes for me. So first, let's talk about the Urban Decay Electric palette. I think where the strength of this palette are really just the vibrancy of the colors and how beautifully they perform on the eye. You do have a couple of mattes in here, but most of these have a subtle shimmer to ranging from subtle to more intense shimmer. I think Gonzo's a little bit more toned down, whereas something like Urban or Fringe are a little bit more in your face with the shimmer. So with the Tarte Make Believe in Yourself palette, you do get the one really beautiful shimmer in here, which I think is a great choice because I think it's just a great transition shade and could go with, put that in the crease and just throw any of these on the lid. That's not enough for me personally, but I know it is for some people. So with this palette, you have all of these more muted colors, but in a more intensely pigmented, in-your-face metallic type of formula. And I love to take the more muted colors in this palette and pair them with the more intense colors in the Electric palette. And this is kind of how I use them. I'll use one of the colors from the Electric palette to put all over the lid and blend into the crease, whether it's a shimmer or matte. And then I'll take one of the colors from the Make Believe in Yourself palette and put it all over that color on the lid, and it just creates such a beautiful effect. So here we have, this one is Urban and Fairy. This one is Savage and Pixie with Pixie layered over it. This is Gonzo with Dream layered over it. And then this is Freak with Marvel layered over it. And they just create the prettiest, most fun, simple, colorful looks. So these are just some of my favorite simple colorful go-to looks during the summertime because I can use that transition shade, you know, bring in a single base shadow, use that transition shade, blend in one of these more intensely electrified colors into the crease and on the lid, and just top it off with something from, you know, a corresponding shade from the Make Believe in Yourself palette, and it just creates such pretty, pretty, pretty looks. So I never thought I would like these two together, but once I started putting them, using them together, I just started creating the most fun, simple, colorful looks just to throw some color on your eye and really have some fun, especially during the summertime. Now the final pairing I have today is actually in opposition to the first two in that these are both standalone palettes for me, and that is the Naked 3 and the Marvelous Mauves from Dose of Colors. I love these little 5-pan palettes from Dose of Colors. So I've had the Naked 3 for a long time, and I love to use this palette on brides. I like to use it on myself. I think it's really romantic. And while I do feel like this color, which is Black Heart, it does have shimmer in it, but I feel like you can use it in the crease. I do use it in the crease. I know that's kind of a roadblock for a lot of people because you do have these beautiful kind of mid-tone transition shades, and then you have this beautiful highlight, all these lid shades, but for a lot of people they don't like this palette because they don't feel it's complete because you have nothing to deepen it up with. So that's where the Marvelous Mauves comes in. Again, another beautiful palette that for me is a all-inclusive palette. I could take this palette with me, use it just with nothing else and create a simple, easy, everyday matte look, or I could really deepen it up with some drama. But these two shades down here, which are Wine Stain and Spaced Out, are really what I like to use with the Naked 3 because they really give you the option of getting some matte colors in your outer V, along your lash line, lower lash line, in your crease to really deepen it up so that the shimmers that are in this palette can really, no pun intended, shine. So I love this palette. I love using this palette combination on brides. I actually used it on a friend of mine a few months ago when she got married. She looked beautiful. And another kind of cool effect of using these two together is when you use the mauves with the Naked 3, it brings out more of the purple tones in these shadows. So I know a lot of people have trouble with this palette because of the pinky tones. It can make some people look sick. It's not so flattering. But when you bring in the Marvelous Mauves palette, it really amps up kind of the mauvey, purple, plummy undertones or leanings in this palette to make it a little bit more wearable. So I love these two together. These are just great together. I like them by themselves personally. They're standalone palettes for me, but together they just create beautiful, romantic, kind of more purple toned looks. Alright guys, so those are just some palette pairings that I have really been enjoying lately. Just palettes that either complete each other in my opinion, or enhance each other. So I think sometimes we just have to look at things a little bit differently, and once we do and we kind of open up that possibility, we can really enjoy some things that maybe have been neglected or in our collection, or maybe are a little bit intimidating because you don't know quite how to put it together. So sometimes it just needs a little outside help. But let me know if you like pairing palettes, if you like pairing palettes with singles, or if you just have some ride or die pairings that just really work for you, because I'm always interested to hear what you guys have to say. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for hanging out and talking about makeup with me. I hope you guys have an amazing day, have a rockin' week, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.